When you hear Chromium, you probably think of Google Chrome. But Chrome is only one browser built from Chromium. Chrome is the browser that brought Chromium's technology to the mainstream. It's fast, widely compatible, updated constantly, and deeply connected to Google's ecosystem. If your digital life already revolves around Gmail, Google Drive, YouTube, Google Docs, and a Google account, Chrome fits into that world almost effortlessly. That's really Chrome's biggest advantage. You don't have to think about it. Websites generally work, your Google services are right there, and your settings can follow you across devices. Then there's Microsoft Edge. Modern Edge is also built from Chromium, but Microsoft has taken that foundation and built its own browser around it. Edge is particularly well integrated with Windows and Microsoft services, while features such as vertical tabs and other built-in productivity tools give it an identity of its own. And that makes Edge one of the easiest alternatives to recommend if you're on Windows. You get Chromium's broad compatibility without simply using Chrome, plus a browser that Microsoft has designed around its own ecosystem. Then there's Brave. Brave takes Chromium and pushes it in a completely different direction. Privacy is the headline feature, with its built-in shield system blocking many ads and trackers, restricting cross-site cookies, and adding protections against fingerprinting and other unwanted content without requiring you to install an extension. The result is a browser that still feels familiar if you've used Chrome, but does much more privacy protection out of the box. And unlike a lot of privacy tools, Brave isn't asking you to spend an afternoon reading a configuration guide before you're properly protected. Opera takes yet another approach. Instead of trying to make Chromium more private or more minimal, Opera tries to pack more into the browser itself. It has built-in workspaces for organizing tabs, a sidebar that can hold different tools and services, and a large collection of customization and convenience features. Opera is essentially for people who look at a browser and think, why isn't this already doing that for me? If you want something familiar underneath but much more feature-heavy on top, Opera is one of the obvious choices. Then there's Vivaldi. If Opera gives you more features, Vivaldi gives you an almost absurd amount of control over how those features work. Vivaldi is built for people who want their browser to adapt to them instead of forcing them to adapt to it. You can move interface elements around, customize the tab bar, create complex tab stacks, tile multiple pages side by side, assign keyboard shortcuts and mouse gestures, and change an enormous number of other details. Then there's Arc. Arc became famous for taking Chromium and essentially asking, what if we stop treating the browser like a browser? Instead of relying on the traditional row of tabs across the top, Arc organized browsing around a sidebar, spaces, pinned tabs, folders, and a more workspace-oriented interface. But there's an important catch if you're watching this today. Arc is no longer the browser company's main development focus. The company has shifted its attention toward Dia, while Arc remains available and continues to receive Chromium updates and security-related maintenance rather than the kind of feature development it received during its main development period. That makes Arc an unusual entry on this list. It's still an interesting browser to understand, and its interface influenced how people think about browser design, but it's no longer the company's main browser going forward. Next is Helium, a newer Chromium-based browser focused heavily on privacy and simplicity. It removes much of the Google integration found in Chrome while keeping Chromium's broad website compatibility. Helium is aimed at users who want a familiar Chromium experience without relying so heavily on Google services. It's a smaller and more niche browser than Chrome or Edge, but its privacy-focused approach makes it an interesting alternative. Finally, there's Ungoogled Chromium. The name is almost the entire pitch. It's Chromium with Google's web service dependencies and integrations stripped out or disabled. The project aims to stay close to the default Chromium experience while removing Google's remaining web service dependencies and giving users a more Google-independent browser. Ungoogled Chromium isn't trying to be the most private browser possible. It's not Tor browser, it's not Mullvad browser, it's not even trying to be Brave. Its appeal is much simpler. You like Chromium, but you want less Google attached to it. And that's the Chromium browser lineup. 8 browsers, 1 foundation, and very different approaches to the web. Which one is your choice?